It's incredible, incredible art that is consumed en masse and inspiring hundreds of millions, billions of people. What's up? This is 3 ways that video games change the world. Make sure you stick around to the end because the last point I'm going to make is probably, I would say definitely, honestly, the most important point. But it doesn't really make sense without the first 2, so I had to do it at the end. Also, if you do enjoy the video, I'm a super small new channel, brand new. Please hit that subscribe button. It helps me immensely and makes my YouTube journey a possibility, right? Point number 1, creativity inspires creativity, right? And this is a personal discovery as well as something I've observed other people going through as well. So I think a lot of creators can relate to this. When you're getting started, it's very challenging unless you're like some insane fucking prodigy, I guess. Like for me, I needed cool things to see to feel like I wanted to do something, right? And so what ended up happening for me was I found Pokemon Gold, right? And Pokemon Gold was obviously, as you guys probably know, it's a Pokemon game, and it doesn't really like necessarily look very visually stunning, but it's very beautiful in the way that it's made. The music is incredible. For a 6-year-old, 7-year-old boy, I mean, the gameplay is like riveting. You're collecting tons of guys. You know what I mean? So bottom line is it was a huge inspiration, but I wouldn't say that necessarily like it made me an artist. It more just like made me aware of beauty that can be made by man as opposed to like, oh, you know, the trees are super beautiful, right? Like this was like somebody made this and I was like, holy shit. And you know, and then I go on to find out like the actual effort and the project that went into that. It's pretty amazing. But then I found Phantasy Star Online episode 1 and 2. That shit was the catalyst for me being like, I want to do this, you know? And at the time I didn't know what I wanted to do. Really, all I knew for sure was I had pulled out my notebook in school and I was like maybe 4th grade or something, and I'm like writing the script for my own game that I'm gonna make. I'm drawing maps and stuff and I'm like coming up with these concepts, and I look back on that and I'm like, whoa. Okay, so you have a kid who has no creative drive whatsoever, no ambitions to like do anything other than, you know, maybe like, I don't know, watch cartoons after school. And then all of a sudden, like I'm in my notebook and I'm like wanting to make shit. And it's like, okay, so if you're not inspired, then you're probably not going to be making anything. And if you're in like a rut, or if you're trying to become creative or whatever, boost your creativity, like there's one fucking hack and it's like consume good shit. Obviously when you're 7, Pokemon Gold is enough and it's gonna do the job and it's amazing. And so now maybe you're 20 and you're gonna have to find something that's a little bit more like juicy, right? But do it, like don't stop until you find that thing that's like, so the mission there is become the type of person that wants to find new cool shit. Do not be the I listen to the same 3 songs every single fucking day guy, because like A, you won't find anything new, and B, like your hopes of becoming inspired are like very, very low. The same thing goes for video games. Like if you're somebody who obsessively plays the same game and you never play anything new and you're like, I'm super depressed, like I don't feel like fucking doing anything ever. I mean, like, okay, hello. Anyways, as an anxious little boy, I mean, that shit was exactly what I needed. And probably many people have a similar situation, you know. That being said, it didn't just inspire me, it also kind of like gave me like a weird confidence, like, because I was pretty good at games, right? I was always like the one that was fucking people up in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like when we got Smash Bros 64, I was a fucking badass, you know, with Fox. But also like it kind of went on to save me from my own personal destruction, which is point number 2. Inspiration guides you, and video games are inspiring. I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that even if you're not someone creative, like you're gonna walk away from that feeling something, you know, and changing your outlook on the world. And so like, let's flash forward. I'm 14 years old now, and I've just picked up a game called Guitar Hero, and I realize it's probably cringe. I have no idea. I'm an old man now, so like I don't understand the internet or the world. But listen, when Guitar Hero came out, it was perfect for me because I had zero discipline. I quite literally could not be convinced to do fucking anything that was not playing video games. So I had delusions of grandeur that I was going to be a great musician one day, but this was like the way that I could fucking dream. Also, my life at this time was in a pretty dark place. Like, my mom had had Crohn's disease for my whole life, and nobody knew what it was because it was the early 2000s, right? So it was they were like pumping her full of shit that was like not working, and they were just like, oh, well, guess you're gonna die, and pretty much just gave me the news at 14, like, hey, your mom's not gonna make it. I mean, she ended up being okay through like a miracle surgery, right? But the issue was that because of that incident, I did not take that very well at 14, right? I had older friends. I instantly started smoking cigarettes, like literally right off. I did not take much. And then I started drinking, smoking weed, and then taking drugs as well. It was a pretty shit deal, really, all around. And unfortunately, like, even though she ended up being okay, the damage was really done in some regards for like multiple years. The whole time, though, I'm pretty much dreaming of music. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be a fucking, musician one day. I'm like dreaming, like, I like start trying to sing. I'm horrible at it. I'm in band. I play trumpet. I'm horrible at it. XYZ. It's just pretty delusional, really. But, oh man, delusion is so powerful because one day I was in school and I heard a dude just shredding it on guitar in the gym. I fucking walked in there. I saw him. He was a guy a couple years older than me. I walked up to him and I was awkward enough to be like, dude, we should have a band. And I literally like conned this guy pretty much. And he invited me over to his house and I was shit and he was a beast. But I'll tell you this, I wrote one good riff and I couldn't even fucking play it, dude. Like this guy he learned the riff that I wrote and then he recorded it for me so we were trying to make it like a song. But that one decent riff was enough for this dude to kick it with me more. And as a result, now we've been playing for 15 years. And I mean, this guy and I have probably written over 100, 200 songs together. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. It's like insane. And so that ended up being like a catalyst for me actually learning guitar and getting good at it, because that one time was enough. I was like hooked, I was like, oh shit, next time I come over, I'm gonna write a fucking better riff and I'm gonna be able to record it this time. And I was super wrong, and I wrote like, it was, whatever. But ultimately, over the next 5 years, I did become a freak at the instrument. And so I do have, in many ways, Guitar Hero to thank for preventing my own destruction through poor habits and life choices, and also getting me a really, really important friendship. And then I guess like number 3 would be like cranking my confidence to 11 so that I could actually talk to a girl. At 16, I talked to a girl in music class because I thought I was a bad motherfucker with a guitar, right? And then here we are 15 years later and she's my wife. So, I mean, yes, was it all Guitar Hero? No. Did it start with Guitar Hero? Yes. And you can't undersell the beginning of any journey, right? If point number 1 is Phantasy Star made me want to make some shit, point number 2 is that Guitar Hero kept me on track with my dream through delusions of grandeur, and I don't say that in a negative way. So, point number 3. Here's the thing. Creativity inspires creativity. Yes, this is point number 1, and I understand that we're doing that again. Do not leave. I'll explain what I mean. You know that amazing like feeling of like discovering some new shit, and then you like want to know who did it? I remember like when I discovered like the Souls games, particularly Dark Souls 3, I had to know who like did that music. I was like, what the fuck? This is insane. Same thing with when you watch like a movie that's just unbelievable soundtrack or whatever. Anytime that it's like you want to know who did it. I had this revelation recently where I was watching Dune, and I was super, super impressed with the soundtrack, of course, right? And it's Hans Zimmer. He's a freak. And I was like, dang, like how is Hans Zimmer, how is he like this? And then I read a little bit about him, and honestly his personal story didn't matter at all to me. Like, it was cool, but one thing that struck me was like, I'm not intrigued by Hans Zimmer the man necessarily. I'm intrigued by the fact that everyone that inspired him culminated together through his lens and has now created this. You're not hearing one man's efforts, okay? You're hearing the culmination of all the efforts of artistic history through one person's lens. And that's what you are now. Okay, like, Breath of the Wild does not exist without Pong. Like, that is something that is important to understand. People had to want to make games. In order for that to be possible, somebody had to play Pong and be like, dude, I'm gonna make a better one, right? Etc. Apply that to anything in the world. Now, what is some shit that people will do almost across the spectrum? Play games. People will play games. It's much harder to convince people to do other shit, but without fail, you can convince a kid to play a game. And if that game inspires them to do something creative in the same field, in a different field, whatever. Programmers, a lot of programmers, childhood gamers, right? Music composers were childhood gamers, or maybe they were obsessed with film, right? Which is in the same vein to me. So you're not gonna back video games into a corner here. Their importance really is only going to be missed by people who haven't attempted to look or are biased for their own reasons. The world of creatives stem from the masterpieces like Zelda, fucking Mario, the Souls games, Resident Evil, World of Warcraft. The music is undeniably epic in that shit, man. Like Diablo, right? Like, you just take the list and it's art. It's incredible, incredible art that is consumed en masse and inspiring hundreds of millions, billions of people. Your perspective has to shift here. You're holding the baton. You're holding the artistic baton in the fucking leg race right now. But let me tell you a secret. If you don't make it to the finish line with your vision, with your ideas, somebody will pick it up where you left off, right? I now am making in my life through my lens and doing my thing. And then later on, somebody will see what I've done, be inspired by it, pick up where I left off, and keep fucking running. Peace.